Hi guys, Coach Carter here. So want to make a new video about kind of nutrition and health tips for the high school athlete. This is pretty critical. This is a big area of a need for high school teenagers. I feel, they really don't have this information correct a lot of the times. They get things pulled from the internet or things that their friends tell them and they just start doing it. And I think it's really critical that if you're trying to reach your maximum capacity as an athlete, that you're following these simple tips. So I'm going to get right into it. This is a little handout I give to all the athletes that I work with. Again, this is college course material. There's majors based on nutrition. There's a lot of science involved. You can make it really complicated or you can make it really simple. I like to go the simple route. So this is as simple as I feel like I can make it without forgetting the major points that the kids need to know. So the first thing I always start off with is sleep. Sleep is critical for complete health. The main point is teenagers should get over 9 hours of sleep per night. So that is, what they recommend based on the age and the brain and the body developing rapidly. So most teenagers sleep an average of 7 hours per night or less, especially when they quote unquote are trying to study for homework and things like that. So if you're trying to be your optimal athletic self, you got to get over 9 hours. Again, set a consistent schedule. Avoid sleeping in too late on the weekends. Put your phones away and relax. This should say your mind at night. And that is kind of the first thing I'll start off with, is making sure their goal is 9 hours. As they get older into adulthood, that number drops down to 8 hours. But for the teenage years, they want to get close to over 9 hours a night. But I'm moving into a little more of the common misconceptions is, what does our body do when we eat food, right? What is it looking for? What kind of foods are going to make us feel our best and reach our optimal capacity? So they first need to learn that our body burns three things for energy, and those are called the macronutrients. So carbs, proteins, and fats. That is what is broken down in our body from the food we eat and used for energy. There's also three micronutrients: vitamins, minerals, and then water, of course. But in terms of breaking down food for energy, over half of our diet roughly should be carbohydrates. We'll get into that in more detail in a second. About a fifth of our diet or more should be proteins. Obviously, this is very popular for muscle growth, but the misconception, I think, is sometimes kids forget about carbs are more, if not as vital as is protein when developing muscle. And then third and finally, fat should be about a quarter of our diet. So I don't think you need to go overboard with these percentages, but just know generally about half of your calories as a high school athlete should be carbs, and then proteins and fat should be another quarter, and the other half, a quarter for each of those each of those macronutrients. So again, the main source of energy our body burns is carbohydrate. So again, the good carbs that we should be focusing on, okay? Vegetables, fruit, pasta, whole grain breads, rice, beans, right? These are the types of things that are going to give us energy throughout the day without spiking our blood sugar levels. There's something called the GI index, glycemic index, and if you were going to be eating a bunch of good carbs, right, we'd have a nice smooth increase of energy, and as that glycogen is processed in our body, that energy level is going to slowly dip. That's kind of what we want to keep our mood and energy levels at a good pace. So in addition to these things that are above here, the good carbs have lots of vitamins and minerals that are going to keep us fueled throughout the day. And I just highlight fresh vegetables. Again, a lot of kids say, "Oh, I don't like eating vegetables." Well, you're missing out on a ton of natural vitamins and minerals that our body breaks down and wants to use. So you've probably heard the term: the greener it is, the better it is for you. Again, I like mixing in salads into my diet. That gives me a lot of those natural vitamins and minerals. So I just put some pictures of basic things that kids can see that are good for them to pull from in the carb category. I also break the carb category down into bad carbs. So this would be really sugary stuff: fast food, potato chips, candy, sugary cereals, fried food. Again, here are some pictures that kind of give the kids a visual image. If they eat some bad carbs, right, it's not going to ruin them. Again, this is the age that they'll probably turn to fast food a lot because they're in rushes and maybe mom and dad didn't cook for them and they just need something to eat. But the problem with these bad carbs is that it's going to get us a lot of energy quickly, but then we're going to hit the ground and feel really, really tired quicker because our blood sugar is going to spike, and then it's quickly going to be flushed through our body. It's going to make us feel tired. So again, I would tell the kids that if you took like a toddler and you fed him a bunch of candy, right, he's going to be bouncing off the walls, and then he's going to hit the wall and take a nap. And for a teenager, the problem with that scenario is that we don't have the time to take a nap. If you're taking naps in class, it's going to make your academics suffer. If you're tired working out, if you're tired during practice, that's going to make you not perform at an optimum level. So again, if you eat this stuff in moderation, it's not going to be the end-all be-all, but as a general word of advice for high school athletes, these are the things that you want to pull from, these good carb categories, and leave the bad carbs for those moderate treats that you use maybe once in a while. But if you're constantly pulling from bad carbs, your blood sugar levels are going to be yo-yoing, and you're not going to be feeling as good in terms of your energy and mood levels. So again, close to half of our diet should be carbohydrates. So you want to make sure you're pulling from these good carb categories as a general whole. Okay. So moving into protein. Okay, this is essential for muscle growth and repair. I think it's common knowledge that when you ingest a high amount of protein after a workout, it's going to help your muscles get bigger and stronger. Good sources of protein. You can kind of look at the pictures, but some common ones are chicken. You want to avoid fried chicken just because it's really high in fat content. Eggs, fish, tuna, milk, yogurt, nuts, right? So these are things that you want to incorporate in your diet as a whole, but you definitely want to focus on them after working out. We're going to get into that a little more in a second. But again, protein, your hair, your nails are made out of protein. It's really good for muscle growth and repair. It should be about a quarter of our diet. And then finishing off with fat. Fat, provides energy at rest, gives food flavor and insulates the body. Some good fat options. The pictures are here below, but peanuts, peanut butter, avocado, fish, some dairy. These would be good things to kind of mix into our diet as well. Our natural diet's going to have fat from our carb options, from our protein options, but if you're looking for just high fat concentrated foods, these would be good options to pull from. Okay, so the third thing in general, especially for a teenage athlete, is how do I mix this into my day-to-day life? So these are the main things that I want kids to focus on, is eating a balanced diet, okay? I can't tell you how many kids will come and tell me, Coach, I'm trying to be a vegetarian. It's going to make me more healthy. I'm trying to be vegan. I'm trying to go keto. And they lose a bunch of muscle and lose a bunch of weight, and they have no energy. For the high school age athlete, they want to maintain a balanced diet. Okay, if they have food allergies, that's different. They can work around that. But if you have a strong belief in being a vegetarian, that's fine. Just know, for you to get your energy and your food sources to reach full capacity, it's going to take a lot of work on your part. So my general word of advice would be wait for that stuff after your athletic career is over, or if you have a dietitian at the college or professional level that can work with you specifically. For my general athletic group, I would say eat a balanced diet, whole grains, our good carb group, vegetables, fruits, dairy, meat, and beans. That's going to cover all of our food groups. You don't want to avoid carbs. You don't want to avoid fat, because that's going to usually leave you in a deficit of one of those main energy groups that's going to affect your mood and energy levels. Again, if you want to go vegetarian, I'm not against that. Just make sure you're being really specific about what you're supplementing by taking out something out of your diet. And as a general word of thumb, I would say for the high school athletes, don't mess around with that stuff right now. Focus on a whole balanced diet. Another tip is always eat breakfast. I would say a car's not going to run good without gas, right? You got to eat. You got to start your day with breakfast. If you sleep for 9 hours and you miss breakfast, let's just say you go 5 hours of school and then eat a big lunch, you're going 14 hours without eating. Your body's not going to function at a high level like that. You must eat breakfast, even if it's something small, to get your metabolism and get your day started. I like to eat healthy snacks every 2 to 3 hours. I recommend kids do that as well. Good choices, again, from the good carb list. Snacks help maintain active metabolism, which will prevent drops in blood sugar. So eating snacks in between your 3 main meals are going to keep your blood sugar levels at a good pace, and it's going to keep that metabolism running at a high rate of speed. And then always eat a healthy lunch and dinner. A good meal should include proteins and lots of good carbs. So these are just 4 things that again, if you're not doing, you're probably not going to be reaching your maximum capacity as a high school athlete, right? If you're not eating breakfast, you're not reaching your full capacity. If you're not maintaining a full balanced diet, you're probably not reaching your maximum capacity unless you're doing something really, really stringent on the back end. Like, again, if you're a vegetarian, if you're not supplementing with a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, and a lot of specific foods that can get those vitamins and minerals in your body when you take away, that meat, those meat products, then, you're probably not reaching that full potential. But again, I might be going through some of this fast, but again, you can go in a lot of detail here. I'm just trying to get the bare bones out, to the athletes and coaches that are watching. So eating for exercise, okay? So pre-exercise, kids, you want to make sure you're eating at least 45 minutes before exercise. If you're eating on an empty stomach, 2 to 3 hours with no food, you're just not going to have the energy levels once that glycogen is depleted. You don't want it to be a huge meal, something that can just get your metabolism moving. Again, I tell the kids, do not work out on an empty stomach. You're not going to be able to function at that highest level possible. So going into the during exercise, again, the main goal is to stay hydrated, right? If you're really, really working out hard, Gatorade's a good option. Just make sure you're not overusing these sports drinks because they're really, really high in sugar. Here's a real common misconception about post-exercise nutrition. Eating 20 to 30 grams of protein is commonly known, right? The protein shake after you work out. What I think gets missed here is that you should also be getting carbs in your system, right? The protein is going to feed your muscles. The carbs are going to get those glycogen storage units back to full strength, and it's going to give you the energy to continue a nice full day after your workout. If you're just sucking down a protein shake with no carbs and not eating, you're going to be missing the full boat on getting that mood and energy level to a high clip. 15 minutes is the optimum time within you get that. Again, like I treat it like a cylinder that's about to close. Once you work out, it's open. Once you get within 15 minutes, it's closed off. After 30 minutes, the muscle stores really close. So you want to get that protein and carbs in that muscle and in that body within 15 minutes, optimally within 30 minutes at a minimum. If you're working out and not eating for 2 hours, you're just not replenishing those muscle fibers as optimally as you could. It's critical to eat and drink water after exercise. We talked about protein will feed your muscles, carbs will replace burn energy stores, your glycogen stores. Another misconception that I sometimes get is kids want to, overdo it with the protein. Again, if you overdo it with the protein, you might feel upset. You might have an upset stomach, and you're probably just going to flush all that protein out anyway. So I would say 20 to 30 grams is good for the normal athlete. If you're a really big boy and you got a ton of muscle, you could probably get it up to 50 grams in a shake or in a meal, but anything in excess of that is just going to be flushed out. So I wouldn't overdo it. I would more focus on getting the carbs in your system with the protein, more so than just overdoing it with the protein. And then fluids metabolize a little faster than solids, so protein shakes are a great option. And then you want to make sure you're eating a nice full dinner or meal within that 2-hour window of exercise. So again, you want to get that protein, those carbs in right after the workout if possible. And then within that 2-hour window, you want to get more of that general meal with those general carbs in there. A quick side note, on supplements, I can do a whole other video on this. For me at the high school level, I'm dealing with 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade kids. I don't really want to get them going on the creatine, on some of these more, serious supplements that you have to really monitor. Creatine is a great option if you're maybe a junior, senior kid really looking for that edge. Make sure you're cycling it correctly. Make sure you're staying hydrated. But for the bulk of my student athletes, I would not recommend anything other than 100% whey protein to just replenish those muscle and energy stores. I know that, again, there's a lot out there. When you get to the college level, they're going to be a little more serious with their supplemental intake. But for me, whey protein and a well-balanced diet is what I'm going to recommend my kids to just keep them healthy and keep their energy levels high. Again, hydration, you want to avoid the energy drinks since they're just really high in sugar and caffeine. High school teenagers do not need that. Lots of water. I recommend the kids bring a jug a day and just drink it throughout the day. Again, you can easily tell your hydration levels from your pee. If you're peeing yellow, dark yellow, you need to drink more water. It's pretty simple. And then the carbohydrate drink, the carb drink can be used, during or after an intense workout. You don't want to overdo it because, again, there's a lot of sugar in that, and that's going to spike our blood sugar levels. So, again, I went through this, really fast in the sense that you can go into detail with every single thing I talked about. Again, there's classes on just sleep deprivation and carb intake, and this is a very, very big field here. But for the high school athlete, I think general, less specific is better. But there are some things that you got to make sure you're doing. You got to make sure you're sleeping. You got to make sure you're eating the right foods. You got to make sure you're eating and drinking correctly during and after exercise. And you got to make sure you're staying hydrated. And hopefully, these are the core tenets that all your kids in your program can follow to help them reach their maximum capacity. If they're working hard, right? If they're not working out, they're not reaching their maximum capacity. If they're not, conditioning, they're not reaching the maximum capacity. But if they're doing those things and then they're throwing in the nutrition on top of that, well, now we're going to talk about an athlete that's going to separate themselves from the pack in regards to their competition. So if you have any questions, you guys can leave a comment in the YouTube channel. Again, High School Weightlifting 101. You can get some great tips in regards to strength and conditioning, and let me know if you guys enjoy the video. Thank you.